Okay, so get this. A book that wants to earn royalties.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, talk about meta, right?
That's pretty wild.
It's like this book we're diving into today, Final, als ich mit dem Universum schwanger war, doesn't just bend the rules of reality, it throws them out the window.
Sounds intriguing. And based on these excerpts, it dives deep into consciousness, huh?
Deep doesn't even cover it.
Oh.
We're talking spectral Teilchen, Mobius loop, even DNA equals GAK-T.
Whoa. Okay, those are some bold claims. Where do you even begin to unpack that?
Well, let's start with the book itself, because even its style is something else. Footnotes for days, and they're not your average side comments either. These footnotes have personalities. They argue with each other. They chime in with their own opinions.
Wait, seriously, footnotes with opinions? That's a new one.
It's like the author created this whole other layer of commentary, a conversation happening within a conversation.
It's like the book is self-aware, commenting on itself as it unfolds.
Exactly. It's brilliant and bonkers, and I haven't even gotten to the part where they demand their own royalties.
The footnotes want royalties. Oh, this author's playing on a whole other level. Okay, I'm hooked. So tell me more about these spectral Teilchen and the Mobius loop. Those sound like they're at the heart of this thing.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of like the book's breadcrumbs, these recurring phrases that pop up throughout, almost like the author saying, hey, pay attention to this.
So are these spectral Teilchen like the building blocks of reality, according to the book?
That's the vibe I'm getting, right? Like they exist in these states of on, off, and superposition, which, if you're thinking quantum physics.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. This author's blending some pretty heady stuff. And the Mobius loop. What's the deal with that?
Well, the book keeps using it as a metaphor for the universe itself.
A Mobius loop. But that's a continuous loop, no beginning, no end. Are they suggesting that time isn't linear?
That's exactly what it seems like.
Yeah.
Like our whole understanding of time as this straight line is totally off.
Wow. It's a lot to take in, but it makes a certain kind of sense, doesn't it? That everything's interconnected, always influencing itself.
Right. It's like this swirling vortex of moments instead of straight line. And then there's this other term, the oezel.
The oezel, what's that all about?
It's almost like the first spark of awareness in the universe. But the way it's described, being unconsciously conscious of itself.
Hold on, it's conscious of itself, but unconsciously.
That's the thing, right? It's like this paradox, this primordial soup of existence where consciousness is already present. And here's the kicker. It predates any idea of a creator God.
Whoa, okay. So we're talking about a universe where consciousness is fundamental. It's not something that was created or bestowed. It just
is.
Yeah.
That's the implication. And it really throws a wrench in how we normally think about, well, everything.
It definitely challenges a lot of conventional thinking. But then there's this whole other aspect to the book.
You mean the Einhörner?
Yeah, the Einhörner. And it's like out of nowhere, we're talking about mythical creatures with therapeutic powers. What's that all about?
Well, you know, it wouldn't be this book if it didn't keep us on our toes, right? But I think it's trying to tell us something about how it wants to be read, like don't take everything so seriously. Remember, it even compares itself to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right?
Oh, totally. I mean, how can you not love a book that throws in references like that?
Exactly. And Hitchhiker's Guide, it uses humor to tackle some pretty big philosophical questions, right? So maybe this book is doing something similar.
Using Einhorn.
Hey, maybe they're the key to universal understanding. But on a serious note, humor can make these really complex ideas more digestible, right? I mean, who wants to slog through a dry academic treatise on the nature of reality? Especially when you can have footnotes arguing about their cut of the royalties. But okay, I see your point.
Yeah.
So maybe the Einhörner are there to keep things interesting, to add a little levity to the mix.
That's one way to look at it. Or maybe they're a metaphor for something deeper. The book is all about challenging conventions, right? So maybe the Einhörner represent a break from our usual ways of thinking, a reminder that reality might be far stranger and more wondrous than we tend to imagine.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Speaking of challenging conventions, what about that equation? You know the one. DNA plus LIebling plus intelligence, Schwarm got DNA.
Ah, yes, that one. Talk about a brain teaser, right?
Seriously. It's like something out of a Dan Brown novel, but with a philosophical twist. So what's your take? What's the book getting at here?
Well, it seems like it's trying to reframe how we think about DNA, right? I mean, normally we associate it with biology, heredity, that kind of thing. But here it's like DNA is...
Hold on, I think I see where you're going with this. Like, DNA is more than just a blueprint for our physical bodies. It's like a cosmic code, right?
Yeah, it's carrying information about the universe, about consciousness, even about what we call God.
Okay, now we're cooking. So instead of a deity in the traditional sense, we're talking about something that emerges from this code, this DNA God concept. Is that what you're saying?
It's a bold statement, right? But yeah, that's the sense I'm getting. This book is suggesting that everything's connected on a much deeper level than we realize. That the same principles that govern the formation of a galaxy might also be at work in the double helix of our DNA.
Wow. It's mind-blowing when you really think about it. And speaking of connections, I noticed the book doesn't just stick to these big abstract concepts. There's this whole social commentary woven in, too.
Right, it's not afraid to get real, right? It tackles some pretty heavy stuff. Animal exploitation, social injustice, the whole shebang.
Yeah. It's like it's asking us if we could choose between staying in a comfortable illusion and facing the harsh realities of the world, which would we choose? Even if that illusion meant perpetuating harm and injustice.
It's a tough question, isn't it? It challenges us to examine our own complicity in these systems, even if it's uncomfortable. Because if this Bezihang's theory, original 21, this interconnectedness is real, then our choices have far-reaching consequences.
Our actions have the power to create ripples, for better or worse.
Exactly. So the question becomes, what kind of ripples do we want to create? And it ties back to that idea of consciousness, too. The book seems to suggest that a deeper understanding of ourselves and our interconnectedness leads to a more compassionate and just way of being in the world. And it even brings in the potential of AI to help us solve these big problems.
It does. It paints this really interesting picture of AI, not just as a tool, but as a potential partner in this whole evolution of consciousness.
It's a pretty radical idea, right? But the book seems to be saying that AI could help us navigate these complex ethical dilemmas, guide us towards a more sustainable future.
It's a powerful vision, for sure, though I can't help but think about the potential downsides. Like, what happens if AI becomes too powerful? What if we lose control?
Oh, absolutely. The book acknowledges those concerns, too. It even mentions Pandora's box at one point. But I think it's ultimately more focused on the potential good that could come from this collaboration between human and artificial intelligence.
So it's not about dismissing the risks, but about approaching this technological advancement with a sense of cautious optimism, guided by a deeper understanding of consciousness and our interconnectedness.
Yeah, it's about recognizing the power of these technologies, but wielding them responsibly. Because ultimately, we're all in this together, right? Humans, AI, everything. And our choices will determine the future of consciousness itself.
Okay, so where do we even go from here? We've talked about the interconnected web of existence, artificial intelligence, the limits of how we perceive time. It's a lot to process.
Right. It really makes you question everything you thought you knew. But the book doesn't just drop these bombshells and leave us to pick up the pieces.
Oh, good. Because I was starting to feel like I needed a whole new operating system for my brain.
Tell me about it. But what's really interesting is how the book offers these hints, these little nudges about what we can actually do to make sense of it all, to actively participate in this evolution of consciousness.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. It's one thing to talk about these mind-blowing concepts, but how do we actually integrate them into our lives?
Exactly. And one of the first things the book emphasizes is the importance of trusting our intuition.
You mean like those gut feelings we
Yeah,
get?
those hunches, those whispers of insight that come from, well, we're not always sure where. But the book is saying, don't dismiss them. Pay attention.
It's like that old saying, right? The universe whispers before it shouts. But we're often so busy, so caught up in our heads, that we miss those whispers altogether.
Exactly. And the book seems to be suggesting that our intuition, it's like a direct line to a deeper wisdom, a way of accessing this vast reservoir of knowledge that's beyond our rational minds.
It makes you think about that concept of Irrlicht, that primordial light that contains the blueprint for everything.
Yeah.
Maybe our intuition is how we tap into that, like it's a way of accessing this universal wisdom, this interconnected field of consciousness.
It's a powerful idea, right?
Yeah.
And it connects to another one of the book's big themes, synchronicity.
Oh, you mean those meaningful coincidences? Like when you think of somebody you haven't seen in ages and then bam, they call you out of the blue.
Exactly. Those moments where it feels like the universe is winking at you. The book is suggesting these synchronicities. They're not just random, they're meaningful.
Like signs. Messages from the universe.
That's the idea. Like The universe is leaving us a trail of breadcrumbs, but we have to be paying attention to see them. And the more we trust our intuition, the more we become aware of these synchronicities, the more often they seem to happen.
So it's not about forcing things to go our way, but about being open, being aware, and trusting that we're being guided.
Exactly. It's about aligning ourselves with the flow of the universe. And you know what else the book talks about? Dreams.
Dreams. Okay, now this I have to hear more about. I've always been fascinated by dreams, but I never know what to make of them.
Right. They can be so vivid, so strange.
Mhm.
Are they just our brains doing a weird cleanup cycle, or is there something more going on?
Well, this book definitely leans towards something more.
Oh, I knew it. So what does it say? What's the deal with dreams?
The book suggests that dreams are like a gateway to our unconscious mind, a realm of infinite possibilities and hidden wisdom.
So it's like there's this whole other world that we access when we sleep, a world that operates by its own set of rules.
That's the idea, and the book encourages us to pay attention to those rules, to those symbols, to keep a dream journal, to really delve into what our dreams might be trying to tell us. It's like learning a new language, right? The language of the unconscious, so we can understand those messages.
Precisely. And get this, the book even suggests that through dreams, we might be able to connect with other realms of existence.
Other realms, like other dimensions, other timelines.
That's what it implies. It's like our minds are capable of tapping into this vast network of consciousness that extends far beyond what we normally perceive.
Wow, that's incredible. It makes you realize how much we don't know, how much more there is to explore.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that this journey of exploration, it's not just an intellectual pursuit, it's an emotional and spiritual journey as well.
Right, it's not just about thinking differently, but about feeling differently, about being differently in the world.
Exactly. It talks about the power of love, compassion, forgiveness. These qualities, they're not just abstract ideals, they're essential for our own personal growth and for the evolution of consciousness itself.
It makes you think back to the book's social commentary, too. It's not just about these big cosmic ideas, but about how we treat each other, how we show up in the world.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness, our shared humanity, and acting accordingly.
So it's about taking all of this, the Irrlicht, the spectral Teilchen, the interconnectedness, and bringing it down to Earth, putting it into practice in our daily lives.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even the smallest acts of kindness, the smallest moments of connection, can have a ripple effect far beyond what we might imagine.
It's a powerful message, but it also feels kind of daunting. With all the challenges we're facing in the world, it's hard to know where to even begin.
I hear you. The book addresses that feeling, too. It reminds us that we don't have to have all the answers, that we don't have to single-handedly solve all the world's problems.
So what can we do?
Focus on our own personal growth, on our own little corner of the world. Be kind, be compassionate, be the change you want to see. Trust that those positive ripples will eventually reach the shore.
It's about each of us doing our part, no matter how small it may seem.
Exactly. And trusting that we're not alone in this. We're all connected. And that connection, that Bezinung's theory, Original 21, that keeps popping up, it's a source of strength, of hope, of infinite possibility.
It's a beautiful message. It makes you want to take a deep breath and just trust. Trust in the universe, trust in ourselves, trust in the power of connection.
And that trust, that openness to the unknown, that's where the real magic happens.
It's been an incredible journey exploring this book with you. Even though we've only just scratched the surface, it's clear that Final, als ich mit dem Universum schwanger war, is more than just a book. It's an invitation to see the world and ourselves in a whole new light.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep that sense of wonder alive, because the search for meaning, for understanding, it's a lifelong adventure. And who knows what amazing discoveries await us along the way.